Just north of the equator in the West Pacific is a rare jewel of a place, every bit as beautiful as it is far away. We're talking about Micronesia! And this place and its people are unique in all the world. But don't take my word for it. We're gonna let the islands and the people that love them speak for themselves on this episode of Big Metal Bird. This is Guam, nearly 8,000 miles off the coast of the U.S. Now, it hasn't always been easy to get here, but for over 50 years, United's island hopper route has been the lifeline for the islands between Hawaii and Guam. Starting in Honolulu and stopping in Majuro, Kwajalein, Kosrae, Pohnpei, and Chuuk. As the only major airline to fly this route, United carries mail, cargo, medical supplies, and keeps the people of the islands connected. Believe it or not, when United first started landing here, the runways were made of crushed shells and coral. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, a brief history of the island hopper route in the words of the crew.
In 1967, the Department of Interior was looking for air carrier service through the trust territories of Micronesia. Then in 1968, started Continental Air Micronesia. They did that with a Douglas DC-6 and an SA-16 Grumman Albatross, a seaplane. And they operated that DC-6 through Chuuk, and there was no real proper runway in Pohnpei, so the customers would deplane in Chuuk and get on the Albatross and fly and land over in the water in Pohnpei and pull up on the seaplane ramp. It's definitely a lifeline for the islands. When the airplane comes in, the island comes to life, and that's where they know mail's coming in and food and trade, and their families coming home, or they're going off to school or wherever they may be. So there's a lot of cries, a lot of smiles, but it's a fun time when the airplane comes in.
When I started, Pohnpei and Chuuk and Yap were still coral-based runways, and they were not lit. So we had to operate, at a certain time. We actually had a chart that told us what time the sun would set to let us know whether we were going to be able to operate.
The engines of the 727s kicked up so much coral and shell, their undersides had to be coated with Teflon.
I can remember landing, and I was sitting by the wing and looked outside, and there was coral all over the wing. And the mechanic came with a broom, opened the exit over the wing, walked out on the wing, swept it off, and off we went.
When we do travel on the island hopper, you'll stop in each station, and it's like everybody knows you. It's like it's all one big family.
When we land, it's such a treat to see practically the whole island there, and we're always scrambling to get all the little wings that we have in our flight attendant kit, and we start passing out the wings to these kids, and it's just so nice to see how they treasure it. So before leaving Guam, I always make sure I have a big supply of wings just for those kids in Kosrae.
There's a lot of very hard-working people, to make this flight happen. We take a flight tech rep, a mechanic that comes with us.
There is always a mechanic on the island hopper on every leg. We take a flyway kit too, which contains spare parts for the aircraft. There is a specific assigned seat for the mechanic. The mechanic is there to ensure that if they have technical issues that he can solve without having to ground the aircraft.
Everybody on the island hopper has multiple jobs. We go from reservations, ticketing, check-in.
We're constantly changing our hats on that flight. We all work together, and we all understand each other, and we all have a job to do.
We ship some pretty unique things up in this island hopper route. We ship tuna, groceries, frozen meats, rice, everything under the sun, including the kitchen sink on the island hopper.
Micronesian suitcase is basically igloo coolers, and someone in Chuuk will pack that with fish, and they'll send it to their family in Guam, and that family takes the fish out, and they'll pack it with meat, and they'll send it back to Chuuk, going back and forth, fish, meat, fish, meat, fish, meat.
It's the only flight that goes down to these islands, so basically they rely on United a lot.
We understand the importance of this flight, and we take a lot of pride and joy in working together to make sure that everyone is taken care of.
And each island we go through, they have about 20 employees or so, and everybody helps each other out to make it happen. I would not trade this route for another route. It's wonderful flying. It's one of the few places you could do bush flying with an airliner besides Alaska, going into remote islands, and you're bringing food and medical supplies and mail. You have a real sense of purpose helping out the people in Micronesia and the Marshall Islands.
So Jay, you have seen everything from the ground and the sky. What is the one thing I need to do in Guam before I leave?
But Phil, you have to check out the diving. Visibility is incredible. Marine life, World War II shipwrecks, you won't be disappointed.
That sounds pretty amazing.
Let's suit up. Let's go for a dive.
Let's go. So, Micronesia. It's remote but remarkable. A truly amazing place connected to the rest of the world by truly amazing people providing an amazing service. I'm going to see as much as I can before I go, both above ground and below.